Welcome to my lovely IHP community and the 5D Collective. So, for this episode, I want to try and get into just a storytelling type of thing because while I love readings and I love introing and all that, I'm more into testing out other ways to help you know what it's like to be a, for me, 5D mystic, spiritual self help, mindfully living and loving person. For you, perhaps only a mindfully living, loving person who's non reactive or who wants to be non reactive. So you're looking forward to putting into practice mindfulness with the restorative embodiment, self aware, accountable, and regulating person that you can be. Okay, so love and relationship insights into being your authentic self, an inner child adult, versus living your unresolved trauma, which can also involve living what is trust break, trauma charge, something that took place and you bringing it into the room. So when you look at Pacha and Cusco, Pacha is being authentic. Cusco is a person who is not taking self accountability, self ownership, and self regulation to the depths of his being. Okay, so remember your child parts. It's when they're all online and you're a core, solo, narrative, relational self owned by you. You own your sense of self. It means you observe, witness, narrate. Acronyms from Dr. Daniel Siegel. So you know when I have thoughts and emotions, they're mine. And when my past comes up, I know of it and I don't project. So you're doing mindfulness when you're able to pause, which is where feminines and masculines alike, as an embodiment of their pure, true, energetic form, empowered, they're going to know how to do this because they're practicing focusing attention and automatically knowing, oh, what came up is mine. Oh, what came up is mine. And I don't do Cusco. So you're an independent lover, you're an independent person, friend, all of this, okay? And that's why you don't cast stones. And therefore, if, let's just say, something does come up, so I get still reactive because I'm not in any way, shape, or form perfect, but I know typically who, and if I don't, when it does happen, I will contemplate it. I won't give myself too much crap about it, but I will think back, think to what triggered it, how did it go down, and what I can do. And already just by identifying what it was, I'm now okay. What was the event that I lived and experienced that I hadn't evaluated and owned? So observed, witnessed, narrate. Oh, okay. So because our past lives within us, like the child parts that you bring to grown-up land and you have sleeping, so do events that have taken place with all of that which you have experienced prior to yourself being here at this moment in time. So trauma is relational with the attachment system, first online, then our social system as adolescents, and then you begin to uncharge if you're a person who organically was able to do that. Like for me, it was easy with mindset, the inner growth mindset that you know all about. So dealing with unknowns, unexpecteds, unwanteds, and moving into my prefrontal as I got out of my adolescent biochemistry and into my grown up with full frontal lobes and keeping them nice and working and not using my amygdala but using my prefrontal. So getting out of the limbic system, the oceans. I didn't even know about Tara Brach or the word mindfulness, but I knew how to say, okay, I don't have to go from one depth to another depth. And this is where I already had one of my twin flames in my picture, and they were supportive at the same time, not really, because like the other people, well, that's normal to go from left to right. Yeah, I didn't say it's abnormal, I just said I don't want to do it. It's a waste of my energy, it's a waste of my time. I'm pretty sure I can do differently because it's my mind and my mindset, so I know I can work with it because I can. Okay, so people who disregard that they can be self-aware, accountable, and learn to self-regulate, it's not just because now we have words that we can all do it. No, the people who don't want to do it, they didn't do it back then. They're still not doing it now, and they got fancy men and women in suits telling them not to and staying reactive. And so they get to go and be Cuscos and do shit in their fight, flight response, and I'm showing emotion. And you know, it's funny because as a teenager, I was told, you have no emotion. No, I'm just not being dramatic. Now I know why that word no emotion comes up, because people don't know equanimity. I do. When you're mindfully aware, in fact, the Zen master doesn't know equanimity. He knows suffering because he calls his emotions laundry. So he uses his temporal junction, doesn't know how to build resiliency and be in a restorative embodiment self. Aware, accountable, regulating, non reactive body, because you can be in neutrality with duality, because that's exactly what detachment, by the way, which he, again, Zen, master what? You don't even know detachment. You don't know how to do what the expert yogis do, which is sit with their secondary consciousness, human, and say, yeah, I don't know. Into the unknown, it's not scary. It's not scary. It is what it is, the dark matter, dark energy. I can emotionally here be okay with it. Why? Because you put it into practice. So every time there's a depth of, but I really don't like it, that's your human secondary consciousness. Evolutionary and existential psychologists talk about it. When people learn a data point, if they're the little choo-choo train that can, they make it over the hump and they say, oh, good data point, thanks, I can work with that. Because it's all the way you conceptualize. But it also involves your inner child. So first you need that whole self. Once your home is cool and your home is this too, then you're going to be doing this and eating it like candy. And ego. Okay, so when we have the capacity to be ourselves with strangers and people who are outside of our close-knit circles, it's going to consistently be easy for you to be non-reactive. When it's personal is when you're going to have those moments of appreciation because you get to expand. That's going to happen with things that you didn't evaluate from your past that come up in different types of conversations, and you'll notice because either you'll notice it about yourself or somebody will point it out. When you're a person who is aware that there are those who don't notice that their past is projected and you're empowered, you don't make it your mission to point it out and say, let me point at that mustard you got. Now, if you got actual mustard, I will, because physically, I'm going to say you got some stuff in your teeth, because I would want to know. Some people don't like that. So when people have said, don't do it in front of you, I say, but what, do you want me to let you walk around with a snot in your nose? I mean, tell me how to tell you, but I don't want to watch you as you're... So I will respect, of course, as I said, I don't want to know, but then I'll say, but really, do you want to walk around with stuff on your chin? If it's a perfect stranger, I will actually say, hey, you got stuff. Because to me, having stuff in your teeth, on your chin, and nobody pointing it out, sometimes if I'm 100% not sure, meaning I'm like, okay, maybe this one really wouldn't want, then I won't. But I still don't like it because I'm thinking, I really want to tell them, But again, because there have been people who have shared they don't want to be pointed it out, that's that subjective experience. So you don't have to make it into big deal, small deal, but you will be talking about it. And here's where some people can think that by talking about things, you're making a big deal out of it because you've seen it. Okay, so the emotional plane to me is where you'll know if it's a big deal or not because I'm just talking about it. Talking about it is because I've witnessed it, and then being able to accept that there's differences. Okay, so let me use awareness. When you're aware that your past comes up, when you're in relationship romantically right now, that one's very easy. At least for me, it's consistently been easy because the emotions will come up with the very events that did take place, and obviously the person that it took place with. And in this case, for people who are emotionally available to their self and to others, it's not in I forgave or they should have done differently. If it's sadness that is still coming up, you process it, you let the sadness come out. If it's some anger, although anger really doesn't come into the mix for an empowered person, because anger would be correcting another person's preferences. So you don't get angry at somebody who doesn't enjoy you the same way you enjoy them if you have secure attachment, 1-year-old and 3-year-old. Okay, so that's why for the solo polysecure person, we have compersion. When you're a securely polyamory person, the ones who are not securely attached, they have a very different way that they will behave and feel. And that fear of losing each other is something that will be dominant, as well as some people putting each other on hierarchies. I'm going to say that at that point it's best for people to be in a monogamous, monoamorous relationship because they can learn to become healthy, self-worth others for each other with a good therapist, with good unresolved trauma, educational stuff, And then being able to continue to grow. And so focusing on your nuclei makes it easy because you're going to have that one. And so that, again, trauma is relational. Healing it is going to be relational too, but it's with safe haven, secure base. So it's with secure connections and actually secure attachment connections. So choosing to commit to each other creates a safe home, and then you work with those insecurities together because nobody's going to be like, I'm offended. It's more of Diego, Manny, and Sid, and we all get together, and we all with Pacha and Cusco have a good time. And we all grow like that, okay? So that is a mix that will consistently follow us, and being ourselves authentically means that we can handle those who have some more of still a Diego or a Cusco going on, okay, and they're not wanting to move into a Pacha version of themselves. And so we got a Pinocchio on an island, but they want us to be part of that island, and so we're going to continue to interact with each other. And there's that 3D 4D state of consciousness with the 5D state of consciousness if we want to also organize that. So if I'm with somebody who lacks self-awareness, so they are bringing into the room a reactivity that is personal because it's projected at my direct person, I'm empowered enough to not take it personally and to handle what comes up with me, because in this case, so for example, it's not anything to do with me, no past event of mine has come into the room, I'm engaging with an individual who brings to me something that has hurt them, made them angry, made them sad, made them upset, made them disgusted, whatever emotion is with it. And I'm a reminder of that. And so now I'm getting that energy and that look and that everything, demeanor, and it's being brought here and directed. But by being empowered to be myself, so it's Eric, I got a tail. I thought you liked my tail. I guess you don't. It's okay. I don't have to make it into a conversation. Data point taken. Eric doesn't really like my tail. Really what it is we got some shit going on. There's no ownership, and that shit though will come up again and again and again. And what happened is it was projected in the absence of a person choosing to instead be aware, accountable, regulate, and be non-reactive, uncharge that past. So they chose instead to use it the very same way it came up, which though it's not that they consciously choose. This is that biological rudeness, which is where we have red and yellow. However, if there's not the taking ownership of it later, it is a consistent disregarded charge that will be brought into the room, which is a characterological distinction, a bias, and it is a tainting of something with a tainted glass that comes from hurt that the person isn't processing because they're not owning up to it. Observing, witnessing, narrating, and say, wait a minute, they're not living that life of spirituality either. I'm bringing to that human being in front of me who I care about this emotion, this attitude, this thing, and I'm directing it at them. That's not really nice. And this is that unkindness that Patrick Tiahan talks about, and it doesn't have to be only from childhood trauma. It will be from people with their past lovers and past relationships and past events. And when they're bringing it into a room with other lovers and other friends and they're not taking ownership, here's the part of where, for lovers, for me as a 44-year-old woman at this point with all the attachment trauma informed, it's something that's going to be talked about at some point, shape, or form if we're wanting to build a home together. Otherwise, no. If we're not building shit together, I don't need to talk about it because you're not going to be bringing it into the room. I don't need to deal with you. I won't be around, and so it's not going to be something that I will be dealing with on a consistent basis, and that really I would want to be cleared away because you're actively not taking what is yours and taking ownership of it. The part about if it comes up randomly, again, you become aware of it. So it's basically that flag with no flag post, and it just depends on the day. And there's another example I was going to use. Which one was it? Shoot, I lost it. Well, if you have Pachas in a room, this is a really nice one. So Pachas in a room, they will look to speak about things consistently and they will notice the energy, and they will notice that there's upset nervousness. So when you have empowered human beings, they're loving, and it's a groovy kind of love, groovy, that tune. Okay, so when I'm down in blue, all I have to do is take a look at you. People who are empowered will consistently want each other to know it's a safe haven, secure base. It's a space that is going to be okay to bring up anything, but not in a humbug Zen master way. That's a low frequency vibration, because it's a person who's not choosing to use the prefrontal. This is the difference. If you're mindfully aware, you're going to know the difference. Doesn't mean you're soft tone. No, it means you can explore the depths of the emotion as a conversation, not projecting it. You're not tainting the entire conversation and that entire aspect. So it's like let's say you have discussed for coffee. You bringing it into the room as an irrefutable fact, that realism, whatever it's called, that is that 14-month-old. You're not taking ownership of it. You're not mindfully aware. So you ain't in being yourself authentically, the 5D way that we're talking about and that I'm sharing with you all. You can become with your practices. Not anybody has to, but this is where I am at personally, and it's a beauty to be here. And when you hear Sadhguru and all his quotes, the reality is the man is in a restorative embodiment. He's self-aware, accountable, regulating. He doesn't have the psych education. It's the reason why when he says things, wisdom, yes, but he misses some pieces. So for example, and then we'll move to our next topic for a little while. Today he shared, here it is. Self-realization means to realize how foolish you have been. Everything has been right here within you, and you did not get it. He's a guru. So he's making it straightforward, but it's not straightforward for the people that didn't have a child-centric environment. That's why Robert Sapolsky and Determined are important, and that's why it's not cut and dry. And so once again, he's here for all of us, but he's here in the absence of the psych education, where Dr. Daniel Siegel comes in, and I try to also come in and say, here it is all together. Enlightenment and your health is non-reactivity. That's that relationship wisdom, which we're going to talk about next. So it's not a right or wrong way to be. It will be, you can be yourself authentically with the whole inner child adult, or not. But if you will be, you will know how to handle those who come with unresolved trauma, which won't be lecturing them. It will be in your ventral vagal state, your prefrontal cortex, and if you bring anything into the room, you're going to evaluate it, thank them, and learn to bring more equanimity, because equanimity means you're using the intelligence, which means you serve and support, not because you're serving, no, you serve and support. Your brain does the entire herd, which is why the embodied feminine here can tell you our inner nurture is the bomb, because it's your gut and your heart knowing I'm here to sense only one thing for why I would need my survival mode: physical danger. Other than that, I don't need to be in any of that flight, fight, freeze, flop, drop, none of that. And by the way, you can even have your nervous system be reactive with good things, and I've had that experience with my panic attacks and then all of this other stuff that sometimes happens. On one occasion, I got so emotionally overwhelmed in a good way that I had to go home because I felt a panic attack coming up and puking. And I had just learned, either that day or the day after, I learned that you can actually have a window of tolerance, basically, even though I don't go out of body, but it was a window of tolerance that got over a little bit its roof because I had to go home. I was like, I need to go now. So also, though, remember that our bodies, they keep, our brains, they keep that which has already happened. So my amygdala is needing, and consistently still I'm working to unlearn all of that which instead was brought up. So you're consistently balancing the non-reactivity with the capacity to notice when something comes up, which again is a fun ride for those of us who enjoy being in the stress, it's called. So in your ventral vagal state, in the restorative embodiment, We'll be back again in a little bit. Thanks for tuning in if you don't come back. And remember, we have channeled guidance on the audio podcast. Even though on Spotify you'll see a video, we have a short out and we have plenty more episodes. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. If you're interested in one-to-one mentorship, email me. Masterclass is a closed list. It's in the making. Email me. Spirituality retreat in the future, but still, if you're interested and committed because you know already, email me so that you can be the first people that get on that list. It's going to be a small number. I haven't decided the fixed number yet. I need to contemplate that one, but definitely it won't be humongous. So it's an honor, obviously, to have any of you. Write me for anything else. Ask Maria. We have that as a paid subscription-based model piece of content on the audio podcast. It's like, Dear Abby, can you da-da-da-da? And we have Universal Love Transmission sessions on YouTube. It's a nice playlist for personal development. Those are for free. And when our membership content will come out, we're going to have some tiers. So stay tuned for that. Again, if you know people who want to bring forth mindfulness, spirituality, self-help, being their self, let them join us. Have a great one.